Money is the carrot, the illusion. If the donkey could see the whole picture, it might rethink its choice to chase the carrot.
All right, let's jump into one of the most powerful ideas from the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a concept that pretty much flips everything we're taught about work and money completely on its head. So what does that even mean? It's not just about investing in stocks or something. It's a total fundamental shift in your mindset. It's the core idea that separates people who spend their whole lives chasing a paycheck from those who actually build real wealth. Now you might be thinking, this sounds like a heavy lesson for an adult, right? But the author, Robert Kiyosaki, says he learned it when he was just 9 years old. And the whole story kicks off with that simple, kind of painful feeling of being the poor kid who gets left out. So picture this. He gets frustrated because he's not invited to his friend's beach house. He and his best friend Mike decide, that's it, we need to learn how to make money. Their first business idea, though, let's just say it was a little unconventional. You see, back in the 1950s, toothpaste tubes were actually made of lead. Yeah, weird, right? Well, the boys read about it in a science book and had this light bulb moment. They started going door to door, collecting everyone's used up tubes as the raw material for their brilliant plan. Their plan was genius, or so they thought. They melted the lead tubes down over a grill and poured the liquid metal into little plaster molds they'd made. They were literally making money. And it was going great until the author's dad came home and found their little metal foundry operating in the driveway. And just like that, their dreams were crushed by a single word. His dad had to gently explain that what they were doing was called counterfeiting, and it was, illegal. So their first business venture was over before it even really started. Okay, so after their brief career in counterfeiting, they decided they needed some real advice. They went to Mike's dad, a business owner they called Rich Dad, and asked him to teach them how to get rich. His response was not what they expected. He made them this take it or leave it offer right on the spot. He said, I'll teach you, but not like in a school. You have to come work for me. The pay? A whopping 10 cents an hour. For a 9-year-old, giving up your Saturday morning for that little money was a huge deal. And the job was just as boring as it sounds. They spent 3 hours every Saturday in one of Rich Dad's convenience stores just dusting cans. It was hot, it was tedious, and at the end of the day, they each walked away with 3 dimes. This was definitely not the path to riches they had pictured. Well, after about a month of this, the author was totally fed up. He felt exploited, cheated, like he'd given up his baseball games for pocket change and hadn't learned a single thing. So he decided he was going to march in there and confront Rich Dad. And this, right here, was the real beginning of his first lesson. So he walks into Rich Dad's office, all fired up and ready for a fight. He feels like he's been used, and he is ready to demand what he was promised, to finally be taught how to make money. He just lets it all out. He tells Rich Dad he's greedy, that he's breaking child labor laws, that he hasn't taught them anything, and was just taking advantage of them. He was so angry, and he felt completely justified. But Rich Dad was just calm. He listened to the whole tirade, and then he simply said, I am teaching you. He explained that most people, most employees, sound just like him, blaming their boss for their problems without seeing the bigger picture. You see, Rich Dad's philosophy was simple. Life is the best teacher there is. It doesn't give you lectures, it just pushes you. And that 10-cent job, that was life, giving the boy a little push. He wanted him to get angry and push back, because that's the moment when real learning can actually happen. And that brings us to the biggest lesson of the whole story. This is where Rich Dad finally reveals the invisible trap that keeps most people working for someone else their entire lives. He called it the rat race. I'm sure you've heard the term. It's that endless, self-perpetuating cycle of getting up, going to work, paying bills, and doing it all over again, day after day. And it's all driven by 2 really powerful emotions. First, there's fear. The fear of not having enough money. That's what pushes you out the door every morning to go earn that paycheck. But then, once you get the money, another emotion kicks in, desire. You start thinking about all the cool things you can buy, and that makes you want an even bigger paycheck. And that's how the cycle works. Fear and desire create this powerful loop. You get a job because you're scared of being broke. You get paid, and your desire for stuff grows. So your spending increases, which means you need more money, and the whole pattern is set for life. You're running on a treadmill and might not even know it. So to teach the boys how to actually escape this trap for good, Rich Dad makes an even more shocking proposal. This one was designed to force them to think completely outside the box. He tells them to go back to work, same job, same hours, but for zero pay. Nothing. The whole point was to completely break their emotional attachment to getting a paycheck and force their minds to start looking for other ways to create money. Ultimately, Rich Dad wasn't trying to train them to be good workers. He was teaching them to use their most powerful asset, their mind. He was pushing them to see the opportunities that other people blinded by the need for a paycheck, completely miss. By working for free, their entire perspective changed. They stopped thinking about the 30 cents they were earning. Instead, their focus shifted to the real prize, the $1 million lesson they were there to learn, how to make money start working for them. And that really brings us to the final challenging question. It's the same exact question Rich Dad forced two little 9-year-old boys to answer for themselves. And just thinking about it, well, that might be the very first step to getting out of the rat race.